We begin with a diplomatic row between India and Canada. The Indian government has expelled a senior Canadian diplomat over the killing of a prominent Sikh leader. The expulsion is widely seen as a retaliation after Ottawa forced out an Indian diplomat that after Canada said it was investigating credible allegations that link the Indian government to the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar outside a Sikh temple in the province of British Columbia in June. New Delhi rejects the charges as absurd. Earlier, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told Parliament he raised the incident with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the recent G20 summit.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the Government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
But for more on this, let's bring in Arise chief correspondent John Cookson, who's monitoring developments in London. John, great to see you as always. The diplomatic row appears to be deepening. What more are you hearing about this today?
Hi, ladies. A classic diplomatic row that, as you say, is deepening almost by the hour at the moment with tit-for-tat expulsions of diplomats from both countries, and that statement from Trudeau, very strong there. That's just says what he's actually saying there, is that the Indian government, headed by Prime Minister Modi, sent a hit squad to Canada to kill, to assassinate the Sikh separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He was gunned down in the back of his truck in front of a Sikh temple back in June and died as a result of those injuries. So serious allegations there by Trudeau against the Modi government, and it's got a long way to run. I suspect there'll be more expulsions, and there'll be countries like Britain, which has good relations with both countries, trying to smooth things over diplomatically in the coming days. But it plays well at home for Trudeau. There are almost 1 million Sikhs in Canada who, of course, are appalled by the death of a Sikh separatist on Canadian soil. So I think this is a diplomatic row that's going to run for some time. The implications are bad for both countries as far as trade is concerned, and a trade mission has been postponed for the time being. But as I say, developing almost by the hour at the moment.
John, if Hardeep Singh Nijjar was indeed assassinated, why do you believe he was targeted in the first place?
You have to go back to Sikh separatist history here. It began in earnest, I suppose, in the 1980s. And then the Indian government at the time tried to suppress nationalism in the Punjab, in the north of India. This led to the Amritsar massacre in 1984 when 400 Sikhs died. And as a direct result of that, Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister at the time, was assassinated by two of her Sikh bodyguards. And the Sikh separatist movement has been growing on and off since then. And here we are with the situation of this separatist, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, leading a movement which seems to be getting stronger. So this is the background, I think, to his assassination.
Well, John, can you give us a sense about what's at stake if this row between Canada and India is not resolved?
Yeah, I mentioned trade, and trade is the direct result of, or lack of trade. I see that it runs at $8 billion a year, the trade between the two countries, which is quite considerable. India imports a lot of lentils and fertilizer from Canada, and in return, India has a big stake in Canadian pharma companies and also software. There are 600 Canadian companies operating in India, sizable companies. and 320,000 Indian students are present in Canada. So the links between the countries are very strong, not least the huge Sikh population in Canada. And we have these trade ties, which are worth about $8 billion a year. So there's a lot at stake here.
Well, with India expelling its Canadian diplomat in this tit-for-tat move, how is this rift between both countries likely to impact on Sikhs in India?
The Sikhs in Canada and Indians generally in Canada send millions and millions of dollars home every year. So the impact could be on that relationship if say the restrictions are placed on how much money can be sent from both countries. So that's the immediate impact. If Canada actually catches the perpetrators of this murder, then that will change things considerably, depending on who the alleged murderers are. And as I say, as far as the rest of the world is concerned, countries like the US and the UK, they don't want to see a rift between two major trading partners, especially countries as important as Canada and India. And so they'll be trying to smooth things over in the background. But the immediate impact may be financial as far as the two countries are concerned, with possible restrictions on monies being sent from Canada to India, to the homeland.
Well, John Cookson, thank you so much for joining us here on Newsday. We appreciate your time as always.